maybe the most dominant offensive player right now. But for the long-term development of this team, does he need to get his teammates more involved for them to really go to a point where they're a great basketball team led by a great player?
I mean, it's no secret that Luka has to carry this Mavs team to win games, and that there's people now starting to compare him with a certain player.
He brought the ball up the court. Nobody touched the ball. I'm going to show you how many times he does this a game. Next play, Spence bring the ball up. Pass it to Luka. What y'all think going to happen? Screen. ISO one-on-one. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm just saying this is the same thing that Harden was doing that everybody hated.
What people are starting to say online is that Luka Doncic's game, the way he plays, the way the team is set up around him, is similar to how James Harden and the Houston Rockets were set up. A heliocentric offense that revolves around one guy, Luka Doncic, who also has a patented step back just like James Harden. And now, of course, I know what people are going to say about Luka. He's different.
Dallas still runs plenty of offense like this, but they've also added more Luka post-ups this season because Doncic is an elite scorer and passer in these situations.
And when you look at this season's stats, I mean, these, as of a couple days ago, you could see here that Luka currently leads the entire NBA in post-up points per game with 5.9, above guys like Embiid, Zion, and Nurkic, and AD, and Jokic. I mean, this is nuts. Luka also has by far the highest post-up points per possessions of the group and easily the highest field goal percentage, best post-up player in the NBA. And so people are going to come here and point out this as saying James Harden never used to do this. Now, that may be true, but also James Harden, it's not like he never posted up before when he was in Houston. It's that he stopped doing so when D'Antoni came in the team. Just like Luka, he started doing this season, but he never used to do this when Carlisle used to say, well, the post-up is dead, alluding to Porzingis never getting post-ups. And I know what some of you are going to say next. Luka Doncic is better. I mean, just look at these averages that he averaged in the playoff series against the Clippers. But has Luka ever done this?
On November 30th, 2019, James Harden had one of his all-time performances. In just 30 minutes of playing time, Harden scored 60 points with a true shooting percentage of 88%. 88%.
Now, I lied to you guys, okay? This comparison with Harden didn't start yesterday or, the week before. No, it started even months ago, back when Phoenix was leading 2-0 against the Mavs. You had guys like Colin Cowherd coming on the TV saying this.
But it was about 5 years ago in his prime that we were saying James Harden was better than Kobe. Analytically, he was the greatest, most efficient scoring guard of all time. But there was a truth serum about James Harden, that he had the ball in his hands so often and he initiated so much contact, he was exhausted by the end of games. He was a defensive liability. Is Luka Doncic just becoming the Dallas version, the bigger version of James Harden?
And AM Hoops, he beat me to it, made a video about this.
Offensive load shows how much a player dominates his own offense. Every player in this top 10 has big talent, 0 titles. You do not want to be on this list, but Luka is, twice. Luka's usage would be number 3 ever behind who else? Russell Westbrook and James Harden. That is a horrible sign for Luka's career.
And in his video, he made some good points talking about how they're both different.
But it's not true. There is a giant difference between Luka and all those others. Harden's curse is a history of playoff meltdowns. In elimination games, he's gone 2 for 11 3 times. He set the record for turnovers with 12 against the Warriors in 2015.
He expounded on this point months ago when Harden lost to the Heat with, all his elimination game stats. And yeah, they're brutal. They look awful.
Luka gets better in the biggest games. 8 40-point games in just 3 trips to the playoffs. One bad elimination game that Dallas still won.
The thesis of his video is that the haters, they should not be comparing Luka to Harden. His early struggles should be compared to a different player. A player regarded in much higher esteem. Yes, LeBron James. Of course, it's not just him making this comparison. A lot of other people are making this too.
Luka Doncic, and people made fun of me when I said this, and I'm going to double down on it. He's a younger LeBron James, minus the athleticism offensively.
Everyone knows like LeBron James is going to go down as 1 or 2, depending on what your opinion is, greatest basketball player. Luka is that special.
I think they're very similar, Skip. Of everyone that's in the league, I think he probably reminds the people most of LeBron for the simple fact he's a franchise-altering player. He's a future MVP of the league. And like LeBron, he's asked to do everything.
But this was all things said later on after the 2022 postseason where Luka, I mean, he did his thing.
Were you aware at halftime you had as many points as the Suns?
Oh, yeah, of course.
But who else could have done what Luka did to the Phoenix Suns on Sunday night? Who else could have taken this Mavericks team to the conference finals? Probably nobody. Only Luka. That's who. That's it. Luka's too skilled, too poised, too clutch, too smart, too every damn thing to ever count out. I think we've all learned that by now. Against anybody. After that Game 7 performance, that man should put the fear of God in any team he faces.
You'll soon notice that when Luka does something great, when people praise him, they'll compare him to LeBron because LeBron is so great. But when he does things that you don't like, Harden's name gets brought up.
I got a stat for you that I heard last night that really blew my mind. Because we talk about Jimmy Butler getting help, right? They still had a lot of assists last night. For the 100 shots that Luka Doncic has made in the playoffs, how many of them do you guess were assisted, Seth?
10%.
11.
11%?
11.
Yeah, I mean,
11 shots out of 100 that he's made were assisted for him. And that is such a telling stat as it relates to the Dallas Mavericks. Like, it requires Luka to do everything all the time because nobody's creating plays for Luka.
And I really do love that Jay's point got flipped on his head right here.
Jay talked about that 11%. And watching Luka throughout the playoffs, though, I think he a hot dog, me personally. I think he holds on to the ball way too long, and he's the one that's shooting the ball all the time and not giving the other guys the opportunity to even give it back to him. But correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, are they in the Western Conference Finals?
No, I understand that. But, no, there's no question about that. But Jay says
he's got a little Harden in him. I mean, that's the way they play. He's ball dominant.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if Luka had lost to the Phoenix Suns in a sweep or in a 6-game series, they would have said this about him.
I don't know what he's thinking. I just know that it was an embarrassment yesterday. Like, James Harden's a good player. He's not that guy. And that's just the way it is. He's not that guy, and he's not that guy in the playoffs, and he hasn't been that guy in the playoffs. I think he's a good player, but there's a difference between being a good player and a winning player in a game that means something, in a series that means something.
And people have revised history acting like James Harden was never good in the playoffs. I mean, just look at how high he is in this list of most points scored in the playoffs without a championship. Luka may well be on that list very soon. I mean, the things he's been doing this season, coupled with the things we've already seen from him in the postseason, leads me to believe that he's going to be in that list very soon.
I mean, he's up there. Look at this. Look at this. Third player to start the season with 7 straight 30 per game.
He's that dude.
We have the combined total of points per game, assists per game, and rebounds per game from each player's best season before the age of 23. And right off the bat, Luka takes the lead with a total of 47 combined points, rebounds, and assists per game, which he set last season when he averaged 29, 9, and 9.
Luka Doncic and the Mavs, they host the LA Clippers. And if history continues, this is a game that you are not going to want to miss.
And in my past videos, I mean, you've seen it. Luka getting criticized for not winning in the playoffs.
This is like, a generational player. It's gonna be a kid from Slovenia and a kid.
He's no baby bird.
Yo, he baby bird.
He can't shoot
Skip,
a lick.
hold on, wait a minute.
Listen, he's nice. He can play. No, he can't play. He can do better than play, Shaq. He great.
Well, I'd say this.
Okay, but is he the top guard? The top guard as far as what? Answer the question. Steph James or him? Damon, add that in there.
And now, despite him making history in the playoffs with, how many points he's averaging in game, it doesn't matter. It won't matter if he keeps losing in the playoffs, if he keeps falling short like James Harden did in playoffs.
Luka has dominated the Clippers throughout his career. He's averaging 32.5 points per game against them, including the playoffs. That is the 8th most points per game against a single opponent in NBA history.
And even James Harden, when asked about, being compared to Luka and whatnot, he sees it too.
A lot of people like to compare, I guess, Luka's game to yours at times, just given how crafty you guys could be and how you guys both thrive outside of the three-point line. I'm just curious what you thought of his game and whether you think those comparisons are fair.
Luka Doncic. He's obviously we all know he has a very, very bright future. And the Mavs got a special one.
If you don't like James Harden, I get it. Okay, I don't like his play style too. But you gotta admit, Luka plays similar to him, and the comparison's not gonna stop, especially not if Luka keeps losing in the playoffs. And I'm not saying that's fully his fault, but I'm saying he's going to be blamed for most of it, and people aren't sure if this playstyle even can win a title for Luka.
Do you think that Luka can win multiple titles with the Mavs?
No, I don't think he could win multiple titles. Do I think he can deliver a championship in Dallas? Yes, but multiple titles, look, that's extremely, extremely hard, okay? And I get it. Luka is a phenomenal player. But I have to remind people, this is not boxing, this is not tennis, this is not golf. This is not an individual sport. You have to have the supporting cast around you to make sure that you get to where you need to go.
And shout out Freecone, he makes great content. And he talked about this as well, and he made the same points.
They, of course, have a generational superstar in Luka Doncic, and when you have a guy like that, you want him to have the ball. You want him to be taking your big shots, making the plays for basically everybody else, because he is by far your best player. It's not even close. So, of course, you want him to do a lot. The problem is he is not just doing a lot, he has to do almost everything, basically every single night. If he doesn't put up a ridiculous performance basically every game, the Mavericks have a good chance of losing to regardless of who they're playing.
Does he have to tweak the way he is? Now, he doesn't have all-stars on with him, and they missed a guy like Jalen Brunson, but does he have to change a little bit to trust his teammates more? Whether or not he has trust now, ball off of Hardaway going down the other way, to get the team as a unit to reach their potential.
So Boston leads big against the Mavs in a recent game, and Luka gets the brunt of the blame. Luka gets criticized for not getting his team involved, gives it to Tim Hardaway Jr. as he turns it over. It's crazy. It's ridiculous, but that's basically what I'm trying to say. Luka is going to get the blame regardless because of the play style. Optic-wise, I know it's not fair, but no matter how bad his teammates are, Luka is still going to be regarded as selfish if he doesn't get his teammates involved more. It's that simple. Luka is the center of it all. He is the sun to the Mavs solar system. Now, it makes sense that all eyes are on him, but can he sustain all this?
Is it sustainable for 82? I think he's going to act. Let's say even if he drops off, like he'll hit 33 points. That's still James Harden. That's Kobe Bryant. That's Allen Iverson. Like he's in that space also with all the assist and rebound.
We'll get back to those names later, okay? Because Luka Doncic, yeah, the reality is setting in.
So, Perk, what's the Mavs ceiling as currently constructed?
Oh, their first round exit. That's their ceiling. And I just talked about this. If you don't have that Robin, if you don't have that guy that's capable of going out there and putting up a 40-piece wing dinner, spicy, all flats on the side of you, then you're not going to get far. And all of a sudden, the Dallas Mavericks, they're leaning too much on Luka just to pull out regular season wins.
In the game that I didn't think my Raptors could win, they ended up winning without Siakam and Scotty Barnes in the game. And that's primarily because Luka Doncic was limited, only scoring 22 points. And now the Mavericks are 0-4 when Luka fails to score over 25 points.
Think about it. He's having to drop 35, 14, and 11 for them to come out on a regular season win because he doesn't have that other star on the side of him. And their first round exit unless they switch things up.
Luka can have one off night and they could lose by 30 points. He has to carry such a significant load for this team for them to even compete. And to be honest, I know they made the Western Conference Finals last year. I don't think it's sustainable, and I don't think you can win a championship like this. I don't think they're able to reach what their true ceiling could be with Luka the way that they're playing at the moment. To put it in some perspective, right now Luka Doncic has the 7th highest usage rating of any player in a season ever.
Oof, look at that list. Westbrook lost the first round. Harden lost the second round to the Warriors. Kobe lost the first round after leading the series 3-1. Westbrook didn't even make the playoffs that year because KD got hurt. And Jordan got swept by the Celtics in 3 games. FYI, Giannis is there because Middleton's not playing currently. And Luka, he doesn't have a Chris Middleton.
Now Luka, there's a large portion of Maverick fans who ask me this all the time. Because they're afraid that if you don't get a championship here in Dallas soon, that you might leave. What do you say to those fans who are worried about you not sticking in Dallas long term?
I don't think they're worried about it right now. You know, I got 5 years left here, so I don't think they should be worried about it.
And I know a lot of you are in the comments scoffing at what I'm saying because no way in hell is he similar to Harden. Harden just sucks. He's a choker. Okay, let's just list the things that these two guys have in common.
There's a report from ESPN's Tim McMahon that Porzingis is frustrated. And I'm just going to read the quote. He's frustrated in Dallas. Porzingis has been frustrated, often feeling more like an afterthought than a co-star as Doncic dominates the ball and the spotlight, sources told ESPN.
What does that remind you of? I'm pretty sure Rockets fans know what this reminds them of, okay? Dwight Howard reportedly being unhappy with James Harden. I mean, come on, man.
Porzingis frequently made thinly veiled references during his post-game media availabilities, such as saying the ball actually moved tonight after high-scoring performances or stating that the offense didn't involve him on low-scoring nights.
And I know what some of you are about to say. LeBron and Irving also had problems. Okay, this is the same thing. LeBron didn't have this problem, though.
What we all saw, Luka is taking, his body serious. And I think during the season, I think Reggie or someone made the comment that he thought he was too heavy. And what I love about Luka, he never runs from opinions. And so when Reggie said that, he worked on his body.
Challenge.
And then he took off.
The beginning of last season, we all knew how fat Luka looked. Let's be honest. He was out of shape. He was working himself back to shape, much like Embiid is this year. And James Harden, same thing.
James Harden definitely had a pregame meal, averaging 17 points per game over the last four.
And so when Colin says the things he says, I mean, I see his point.
So much ball usage, so much initiating everything. By the end of the game, you're just a liability. And by the way, as great as he's been, like Harden, he didn't come into the season in shape, did Luka. You also need some self-awareness as a star. He's got to figure out how to work with others. He and Porzingis hated each other. You also need Luka to do something that it's quite possible international stars don't feel comfortable doing. Getting on the phone and recruiting a player.
I mean, maybe Luka is doing that already. I mean, last night, him and OG had an interesting interaction.
I think he's probably one of the nicest dudes in the league. He never talks trash, he never do anything. But I tricked him, not on purpose, so that's what happened.
He was asked why he helped you up after the block, and he said he knocked you down by accident, and he thinks you're one of the nicest guys in the league, doesn't trash talk. So do you have anything nice to say about him?
He's one of the nicest guys in the league too. He doesn't trash talk either, so.
Obviously joking, okay? He needs someone way better than OG if he wants to, contend for a title. Kendrick Perkins, he tweeted something last night that I found interesting. Okay, he said this: people be grilling Trae Young on this app when he doesn't play well or the Hawks lose. Where is that same energy when it comes to Luka? Just saying. I mean, Perk, you know and I know that if he keeps losing in the playoffs, that same energy is going to come to him.